Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and start again with the refuge prayer. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Yeah. And chant this twice in Tibetan and once in English. Sangye chodang sogi chodnama chanju balu dagi gyapsu chi dagi chunye give sonam drola benche sangye drupa sho sangye chodam sogi chodnam chanju balu dagi gyapsu chi dagi chunye give sonam drola benche sangye drupa sho. Go for refuge until enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Say this 3 rounds. May all beings have happiness and its causes. May all beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all beings never be parted from true joy. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from holding some close and others distant. May all beings have happiness and its causes. May all beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all beings never be parted from pure joy. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from holding some close and others distant. May all beings have happiness and its causes. May all beings be free of sufferings and its causes. May all beings never be parted from pure joy. May all beings abide in equanimity, free from holding some close and others distant. And you can just spend just a short time settling, some quiet meditation on the breath. And before we start, maybe take a moment to connect with the quality of intention for our discussion tonight. And just reflecting on our appreciation for the Dharma, our inspiration of the Dharma. And the qualities it reflects in us: compassion, kindness, peace, contentment, wisdom. Reflecting that us coming together and taking time to explore the Dharma together is an act of kindness for ourselves. And the more we begin to gradually embody the Dharma, to contact our true nature, bring out and strengthen our kindness and compassion that radiates out and affects others and benefits other beings. So our engagement tonight is also an act of kindness towards others. And if you'd like to expand that intention or motivation, holding in our mind the kind of great potential of a fully enlightened state, fully awakened mind. And we want to continue to gradually awaken to our full nature, full potential, so that we can be of great benefit and service. Okay. Yes, so this is class 4, so Elizabeth and Shayla, you can jumping in at the end. Came for dessert, skipped the appetizer. Yeah, so we've been just gradually kind of going through Rinpoche's Perfect Human Rebirth text. It's kind of a basis for our chats and exploration. And yeah, so the precious human rebirth contemplation, or the kind of, a point of the path starts at the beginning of lam-rim, and just reiterates one kind of way Rinpoche explained in this kind of a traditional categorization of the whole path is developing the appreciation for human life becomes the basis for the rest of the path. So like it's like the kind of it becomes the kind of fuel for our engagement of all the other practices. And how we arrive at that kind of inspiration or gratitude or perspective, emotion, is to see that we have the capacity to practice, we have the capacity to cultivate our minds. We're relatively well okay, internally and externally, and then we can kind of weave in lots of things from different perspectives. We can look at the Four Noble Truths and see the nature of the human condition, and particularly the pervasive suffering, the suffering of change, and also the suffering, the all-pervaded suffering, that kind of subtle suffering that we experience, the kind of subtle anxiety or craving or clinging or subtle, it's kind of like subtle, it's like fear or something that we feel as a contracted sense of me that we have, that kind of becomes the basis of all of our emotions, just kind of fears and inadequacy and discontent and so forth. So that can lead us to see that external things aren't fulfilling, and that there's a kind of that root of our psychological, emotional, spiritual challenges is really what we got to get at. It's always going to kind of contaminate things. It's always going to be in the background. It's always going to haunt us, and it's going to kind of affect our experience until we realize emptiness and experience this kind of vast nature of self, experience the vastness of our true way of, our fundamental way of being, the fundamental nature of mind. And coming in contact with that, like seeing the reality of that, once we see that if that rings true to us, see that that's actually, when we understand that, and we see the cause of suffering and the end of suffering, the path to that, and see that we are in a position to kind of continually familiarize ourselves with that reality. That brings us that's the preciousness. That we could be human, but we also could be just kind of into other things that don't bring the same type of fulfillment or peace or potential. But the fact that we are human, we have this inner, our faculties are okay, our external environment is okay, it's not too overwhelming, too violent, too oppressive, so forth. And then we've met the teachings. We have the inclination to seek them out, to continue to familiarize, to internalize them. That's a very precious kind of condition that we have, or situation that we found ourselves in. And and traditionally also mentioned that the Dharma is alive in a living, embodied place. We have people who've realized the Dharma alive today, and are passing the lineage down. So it's not just like text from nobody's actually read it in 1,000 years or something like that. It's actually still very much here, present. So, then from within the mind, and then Rinpoche talks about this. So there's so we have this kind of opportunity and situation, the inclination, and what can we do with it, and how we can direct the kind of scope of our engagement with the Dharma. And there's from the traditional perspective, is to ensuring that our future lives is like we keep the stream, keep it going, keep our practice going, keep our connection going. So we create the causes for peace, stability, healthy life, and so forth. And from a karmic perspective, causes for that are ethical conduct, generosity, and typically refuge practice is a kind of foundational practice of that kind of scope, or that kind of mentality or outlook of, I'm not trying to, I don't feel like I'm up for nirvana. I'm not striving for nirvana. I just want to, keep a good thing going after this lifetime. So refuge practice becomes the basis for that. And within refuge practice is ethical conduct. It's kind of a implicit. And then we can turn it to from the Four Noble Truths perspective, seeing the root of suffering and wanting to eliminate that, and creating the realization or experience of liberation, self-liberation, without a kind of a bodhicitta attitude. So there is a level where we can just realize emptiness or selflessness directly, but not be on the bodhisattva path. And so that's called kind of the Mahayana kind of self-liberation, or like a lower nirvana or ordinary nirvana. And then there's the great path, kind of the great scope, where there's a vision of enlightenment that is not just the realization of the emptiness of the mind, but also the kind of actualization of the spontaneous Buddha activity ability, the spontaneous liberating activity of Buddha, of full enlightenment, where it's not just empty, kind of blissful, empty mind. It's also an expressive force that can manifest as in human form or any form, really, to communicate to any being, like mirroring back that kind of reality of enlightenment to any being spontaneously. And so we can consider that as a scope or opportunity of practice. So we can aspire for peaceful, conducive Dharma lives in the future. We can aspire for nirvana, self-nirvana, or we can aspire to this kind of bodhisattva path and full awakening, where it's the fulfillment of kind of compassion and wisdom unified. So that kind of gives us, then we bring it back to consider that potential, and then come back to I'm alive, I have this kind of connection and so forth, and how fantastic and how precious this is. And so in the final chapter, Rinpoche started out by kind of talking about looking at from point of view, comparing our life, this kind of life opportunity and money. So like, the traditional was like in India there was a kind of the idea of the wish granting jewel that is almost like a genie lamp kind of situation, where it just kind of grant any sort of material thing you want. But you can maybe say, like, if you become like a billionaire, I guess, and seeing what you can do with that, versus these kind of extraordinary, like, everlasting peace of nirvana, or this kind of infinite kind of capacity of awakening, and actually finding a stable sense of satisfaction in self, and a stable sense of wholeness or peacefulness or love. And we can see we have a bunch of billionaires kind of running around these days that show us like it's, they still seem anxious, so they're still trying to buy stuff. Like, Jeff Bezos really wants to buy the Washington football team really bad, but he can't. So he still can't. It's still not a free flowing thing. He still has his aches and pains, I'm sure, when he wakes up. And, yeah, so Rinpoche just talked about like kind of looking at it from there in terms of giving it as like a comparative for when we think of like value. Yeah, so one example, Rinpoche says, if one wish-granting jewel is worth far more than all the wealth and all the universes, then 1 second of this precious human rebirth is worth infinitely more than the whole sky filled with these jewels. The preciousness of this human rebirth is beyond compare. Yeah, because yeah. Yeah, I just think of like if if we had like unthinkable possessions or whatever, we're still experiencing them with our own mind. And like, even if I have if I'm sitting, I can sit on a golden sofa and be cranky. I think if they exist, they don't exist. So, but you know what I mean? Like have the greatest food, but like be in a bad mood or in a good mood, and it's gone in like a couple minutes. But the Dharma is referring to like in an ultimate sense is like a non-dual. Like it's over. Like we transcend this kind of internal, external, outer, inner worlds, coming, going. I have to be here. I have to get this. I have to become this. Like that all sheds in there. It's just wholeness. This kind of blissful wholeness. That's up and down is over. So I think that's where Rinpoche is saying even in the infinite. I mean, whatever we can think of in a material dualistic way, it can never actually compare to this kind of infinite reality of emptiness and this kind of infinite nature of mind. When it recognizes that level of reality. Any thoughts, comments, questions?
I'm dog sitting right now. And since I've been learning about the Tibetan style of Buddhism rather than just Zazen, and now I see the animals as a being. I mean, I did always. They were my friends and my sweethearts, but now I see them as a reincarnated being. And I look into their eyes and I just feel it is so incredible relating with this being. I mean, I did before, but it didn't have the same feeling as a reincarnated, all the 12 links and the whole 6 realms and and now it's like, wow. And then when I am watching or working with them and playing with them, cleaning up after them, and I look into these intense eyes, then I almost always go, wow, I have this human precious body. I'm not a dog, or a bird or it really like makes the whole big connection. It's been pretty wonderful. So thank you for class. Humbling, very humbling.
Yeah, we kind of see this, their culture, we see them as like different than us, but whenever I get it's just it's like a spectrum or whatever, and they're in like my dog reminds me of myself, and there's like the 12 link. They're just experiencing the 12 links too, but in a particular way, in this particular kind of posture and their sensory experience and what they're into, or whatever. But it's very similar. Yeah. Yeah. There's been a few teachers who've taught on the six realms as from a psychological perspective, like they're correlating emotional states that are kind of that dominate those realms. It can be interesting and different take on it. It's like animal realm is kind of dullness. Dullness is kind of typically things that kind of creating dull animal realm. It's like we create animal realm karma with the kind of emotional dullness. Like sometimes they talk about like the couch potato mentality, or, just kind of dogging through life, whatever's in front of us, not really having perspective, or just numbing out, kind of. Yeah, and then God realm, like God realm mind is like just carefree. Um, Everything's great. Just kind of Lamas, head in the clouds, Boulder, like it has a little bit of a God realm because it's just so beautiful, and like it can be a little bit of a God realm party, and that's sun's out, everything's nice, everybody's exercising, which is good, but there's still like this kind of it's just so uppity. It's like so up. Um, and then jealous God realm is like a competitive kind of the competitiveness of wanting to be on top. Sometimes they call it the Titan realm. I guess Titans were kind of gods, but they weren't. They were having to look up and feeling that kind of competitive jealousy. And then the hungry ghosts, we know, hungry ghosts are present in like the mind of addiction, and just kind of never feeling full, never feeling like we have enough. And then also hell realm mind is very also easy. We have the hot hells and the cold hells. We have the hot hell, the hot really steamy anger, where it's ferocious and violent, and then the cold hell mind of the kind of seething, kind of cold, like it's like quiet anger that's kind of like cold anger basically. And we can kind of see sometimes we can cycle through all of them throughout the day. We can have kind of our own animal realm, and then human realm is more like drama. It's more like the narrative kind of relational drama, like attachment. Yeah, it's interesting kind of look at it as. And the way that I've heard it taught, it's like, it kind of gives us a moment, like, I'm kind of in God realm. It's a way of like catching kind of emotional states, framing them in a way like, hell in my hell realm, or like, I'm in animal realm, mind, or I'm in hungry ghost kind of mentality. It's feel bereft, feel inadequate. Um, so it can be a nice it's a nice framing of way of identifying them, but also not identifying with them. Like it's okay, oh yeah, this is kind of God realm mode or whatever, or this is just hell realm mode. It's not me, it's just the state, temporary kind of state I'm in, the realm I'm in right now. It's gonna be helpful. Yeah, and so then the last chapters, so we kind of have this kind of map of the path, and then Rinpoche touched on the concept of purification, so vow taking and purification practices. And yeah, in the Tibetan tradition, it's mostly like anything you do with the mindset of purification. So there are some traditional practices in the tradition. Vajrasattva practice is kind of what's seen as kind of the supreme, kind of the and that is Vajrasattva is a meditation deity that represents the pure nature of mind. And it's white and can be stand with by just myself or with a partner. And there's a 100-syllable mantra, and you can do Vajrasattva practice in many different ways, but from a purification point of view. But yeah, maybe I should say. So it's similar to what we've been doing in class, where with the meditation on the Buddha, with the nectar kind of flowing down. So Vajrasattva, it's white nectar, and we often do it a lot. Hi, Anna, welcome. And I'll just say I don't want to go too far into Vajrasattva, but I'm going to talk about Vajrasattva in a couple minutes. Yes, so there's visualization process, there's a mantra process, and then there's a kind of mental process of framing it. So, and these are called the four opponent powers. So regret, reliance, regret, remedy, and resolve. And reliance is refuge, basically. You say refuge, so it's relying on a healthy outlook, and healthy outlook through the three jewels. So reliance in three jewels. The regret is said to be the most powerful force in the purification process, because it's kind of like rewiring ourselves to break the habitual chain. So it's like, oh, this is screaming at my partner is a good thing, in our kind of nervous system, or like there's a kind of a habit that we built up that has this kind of energy that just goes towards that. Regret is kind of seen like that doesn't really align with what I'm into, so it's trying to break that kind of habitual stream, with a kind of cognitive rethinking or rewiring ourselves to okay, that's not something I value. It's not something I want to do. That's not healthy. That's the things. And so that becomes an opponent for the oppositional force in our minds. And but the tradition says that's great, and it's even better to do something positive in its place. So the remedy is like something that's in the opposite direction. So again, like losing patience and yelling at somebody, like doing Vajrasattva mantra and powerful, beautiful visualization meditation, and reflecting on Buddha nature and all this kind of within the context to kind of remedy the harmful energy we've accumulated in the past, the harmful imprints and so forth. And then the resolve is just like kind of reestablishing that kind of what we've seen through reliance, regret, remedy. Like it's just kind of resolve is just that final, like, I want to continue in this direction. If you want to frame it that way. So purification. If we want to look at it through the lens of purification, that's the kind of those 4 component powers are kind of the backdrop, and we can do anything. We can be generous. We can help people. We can read sutras. We can do prostrations. We can meditate on compassion. Meditate on emptiness. Really, any sort of intentional practice can be a purification practice. And Vajrasattva and prostrations are kind of a foundational one, particularly in preparing for the tantric path, because of the effects it has on our kind of energy body. So prostrating has an amazing effect on kind of smoothing out and healing our energy body, while at the same time cultivating qualities of surrender, like healthy surrender and letting go, and humility and devotion, and then purifying, and it's also, you're also visualizing and purifying and so forth, in continued purification. And Rinpoche mentioned the Nyungne retreat, which is a 2-day. It's called Nyungne, Nyung, and the second word is Ne, with the apostrophe, or we haven't figured out. FPMT hasn't figured out how we want to transliterate. We had something that looks like Nungna. But anyway, there's a lot of ways to spell it. But it's a 2-day fasting retreat centered on the Buddha of Compassion. So that's the main meditational deity. And the first day you take 8 Mahayana precepts and you just have lunch. And then you do 4 sessions, but 3 2.5-hour sessions. There's lots of prostrations and prayers and reflecting on all the beings of the 6 realms and doing lots of compassion practice and mantra and so forth. It's very beautiful, powerful ritual. Usually done in groups, because usually you have to do it in groups because there's just a lot of ritual kind of accoutrements, and the sessions there's a lot to the sessions, so it's good to do them at least once or twice to know how it goes. And then the second day you don't eat or drink anything, so no water, no food, and you continue to do prostrations and do the 3 sessions practice that day. And it's just very super powerful kind of practice. I think originally it was a Tibetan woman centuries ago, actually, is the originator of the practice, and she healed herself. I think it was from leprosy with it, so it also has a physical healing aspect to. You drink very blessed water at the end, and it's just extraordinary, very intense, very powerful practice. Yeah, Anna, you had a question?
Hello there. Sorry about the lack of video. Nice to be here, thank you. I was
Yeah.
just going to ask about fasting. It's something I do myself occasionally, water fasting. Um, and I was going to ask about the physical benefits um, that are recognised, within this practice.
Mm. I don't know a lot specific other than I've just heard, um, yeah, just it's been used or kind of turned to as a healing practice for healing sickness and
Yes.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's mostly what I've yeah.
Okay. Just really interesting. There seems to be, numerous faiths and religions who use fasting as part of, certain rituals and practices they do. And I think we're only just catching up really onto at least the physical benefits, not to even mention the
Mm,
psychological benefits of fasting.
mm.
Yeah, so I was just wondering what had been um generally recognised in this practice. But yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of been hearing like I know some friends they fast through like until dinner sometimes, and they've said different health benefits. And, um, yeah, but I haven't heard anything specifically. It'd be interesting because there are some people in our worldwide community that have done a lot of the New Name retreats. There's just a blog post this week from FPMT, a non who had done 2,000. I think it was 2,000 New Name retreats. It was like it's like 4,000 days of it total. Maybe 5 years. Amazing. Yeah. And I'm sure, and you know, there's the one day, it's not quite fasting, but the Mahayana precepts where you just have one meal during the day.
Um,
Um,
so more like intermittent fasting.
yeah, but it's very beautiful. Like you wake up before dawn, recite prayers, can take on, it's a bodhisattva practice. Um, and yeah, so you go through a bit of a ritual in the morning before the sun rises. And then you take the five precepts: not killing, not stealing, and so forth. And then there's three extra ones of like not wearing perfumes and not wearing uncomfortable beds, and yeah, um, and then not eating past noon, so you can have a meal. But you could probably you don't have to have a meal. I guess you could. You're just restrained from eating past noon. And some teachers don't differ on like you can have a little breakfast in the morning, then as long as you don't eat past noon, or some say no, you just eat once and that's it. Depending on the teacher. And then yeah, so you hold these kind of vows for 24 hours. So it's a temporary vow practice, almost like it's not quite monastic, but um, it's more than just to kind of lay vows. It can be very powerful, and sometimes people will do them like on full moons or new moons, like it's like a day, a common day for practitioners to take them. Um, One point with that practice, generally you're supposed to get a lineage transmission before you do it. So getting it from a teacher's like going through it, you have an oral transmission process to be able to practice the Mahayana precepts.
There is a day in November that Geshe-la here in Santa Fe is going to do that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so if you look on the November calendar, you could sign up. And he said if you don't do the direct transmission thing, it's still good for us to do it to make an imprint.
Awesome.
Written there, yeah. And I've been doing it now for about a month. I eat twice a week something in the afternoon, but my main meal is right after I finish work. It's a little around 1:30. I know it's a little late, but I only eat a tiny breakfast and then a main meal, and I feel great not eating. Feel great. My liver, my gall, everything. I just feel wonderful. So I've just been doing it. And then once or twice a week, I'll eat because just the mind says, oh, just, okay, today's your day. You get to eat dinner. And I eat a little dinner and I'm like, I didn't need that. I just didn't need it. It's been really good for me.
Yeah, Anna, yeah, question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yes, Kodo, that is absolutely amazing. What dedication! And I just sharing some of the effects I've recognised. The clearing of the mind after the third and fourth day. I do complete water fasting with salts and minerals, and I've got some tablets off certain teachers to give me. And I'm actually using fasting at the moment to help with my feet. I've got plantar fasciitis after starting to skip in boxing, and it's completely taken all the inflammation down and away, and also from my internal organs. And I'm 44. I feel like I'm in my 20s. The energy in me is second to second to none. It's ridiculous. But there's a lot to say for fasting on the physical and mental. Even just getting rid of sugar, the effects are dramatic. But this is it's amazing. So yeah, I'm absolutely amazed by you, Cody. Well done. You like I hope to speak to you more about it maybe. Thank you everyone.
Well, I'm 60, and so now for the last few weeks, I feel 52.
I love it. Brilliant. Keep going. Cody, do you take any supplements?
Sometimes, not daily. No, just
Okay.
eat organic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and at the Institute Vajrayogini in southern France, they do the Numes every year for they do 108 consecutive, so like 200. That's like 6 months or so. And I think they're flexible. Some people sign up for the whole lot, but I think people can come in and out depending on how the COVID situation is at the time. But, yeah, I know that's one center over in Europe that does them frequently. Yeah, Lamas over Rinpoche he offers to sponsor 10 people who want to do the full 108 each year. So the center in France kind of took that up. It's kind of being the host for it. Yeah. So yeah, and one thing Rinpoche likes to emphasize is that bodhicitta can be, although it's kind of, it's a very difficult practice and advanced practice, and in the lam-rim it comes more than halfway through the texts and the kind of steps. But taking it as an aspiration from the start, tradition, just to have that just as a foundation from the beginning, even though we're still very, very gradual process. Um, yeah. And yeah, Rinpoche says, so we can train our minds to always have bodhicitta and awareness of emptiness. And Holiness Dalai Lama, that's what he says to, if you're a student of his, that those would be the two main things we try to really hold every day is bodhicitta and emptiness. And even though it doesn't mean we're in a continual state of meditation, but by setting up a strong motivation, bodhicitta at the beginning of the day, the whole day can be suffused with bodhicitta and emptiness, flavoring any activity we do. And he says we can wash with bodhicitta, dress with bodhicitta, cook with bodhicitta for the sake of all sentient beings who might be eating just one piece of toast, yet, or fasting, drinking just a cup of water. With the right motivation in our mind, it's helping countless sentient beings. It just depends on our attitude. Yeah. Yeah. Yoshi would say about bodhicitta, it's kind of like the attitude just kind of opens, like an opening. It's not necessarily like a heavy, like it can be a heavy, a powerful heart opening, but it's just kind of like just from a small kind of ruminating self-preoccupation to just kind of opening back out, like there's other, there's the universe out there, there's beings. I want to kind of have this aspiring heart that includes all beings. So it's just kind of like a mind that turns like open. Yeah. Yeah, the last point Rinpoche made was just how the sutra and tantra path kind of work together in this tradition. So the sutra, the kind of perspective and groundedness and attitude and equanimity that the sutra path kind of creates in us, it becomes a foundation for tantric practice, so that the tantric meditations actually become transformative. So we have the attitude of bodhicitta. It's this open, universal, loving attitude. Then we have the understanding of emptiness, in that we're not just kind of reifying ourselves, and not just, there's like a transparent. We can kind of let go of our self-concepts, let go of the concepts of the world, and start to kind of tune into this kind of more blissful, free, transparent, rainbow-like quality of reality, which is kind of manifesting as a deity, which then kind of starts to allow the transformation to happen in us, because we're not grasping and starting the subtlety begin to evolve. And then with the equanimity or the renunciation or coming out of we don't get kind of graspy at the bliss, kind of the blissfulness that can come from the tantric meditation, because it's actually trying to help us transform the bliss. So it's utilizing bliss to kind of let it help wash through us and release so that we can truly let go and help manifest a kind of a subtler mind. So your mind, we let go of all the kind of the disturbance of all the grasping and the kind of frustration of the inner and outer kind of graspy mind, and it just be just open to the, so the bliss can just kind of move through and kind of come and go, and we don't get kind of graspy with it or sticky with it. Yeah.
Hi, Justin. I just caught on that you mentioned quite quickly together renunciation and equanimity. So is equanimity like an aspect of renunciation, would you say, or are they like comparable?
Yeah, maybe byproduct. Yeah, Rinpoche used, it's interesting he included it that way, like equanimity, bodhicitta, and emptiness. Yeah, like that, Lama Yeshe would describe uh, renunciation as like a flexible attitude. Like we can enjoy things, but we're not too serious about it, not too sticky with it, not too. Which would mean, which I would understand, like in equanimity, like good and bad comes, like it comes, it goes. Where either way, it's okay. Like I like this, I appreciate this, I enjoy this. It's meaningful. It gives me some zest or whatever. Like something. But if it comes and goes, I'm not going to be too. I'm going to be okay. Kind of thing. So I think, I'm assuming that's when she was speaking equanimity from that point of view of just being kind of steady. Yeah, because the opposite of that mind is like, I need to have these things and avoid these things. Yeah. So these are on my good list, these are on my bad list. Which is not equanimity. Yeah. Any questions, comments? Anything can come in? I have a question. What time is it there, Anna?
It's 3 o'clock here, 3 a.m. But I'm I'm on kind of like a mini home weekend retreat. But like Kodo's experiencing with this fasting, your energy is just so I'll be up all day. I'll be probably lying down. I do a bit of yoga and stuff. About 8:30, resting my body and mind, and then I'll be up usual 5:30, 6.
Wow.
So, I mean, the benefits of fasting, obviously, you've got to be safe and check with your general practitioner, your GP, and all of this stuff, but it will be one of the best things anyone does. And I've seen the results in, people turning around with breast cancer. I haven't got hard evidence, but, I have strong belief, the burning off these dead cells and stem cells and the body working out what it really needs to keep and not is quite extraordinary. And I think that within that physical process, it kind of transfers over to a mental process as well. For me anyway, where I'm chucking a lot of rubbish or rubbish patterns of thinking. As long as it's just changing your whole routine as well, jiggling your nervous system up that way mentally too. Really interested to come in on that point. But it's early here. The cat's screaming for chicken, so I'll have to obey my master. I'll be back.
Well, We usually finish with meditation on the Buddha, which is the kind of foundational practice that we can couple with the gradual path trainings. Yeah, I was sharing last week. Sometimes when we do lam-rim meditation, lam-rim just means gradual path. In short, when we do meditations on these kind of particular topics, like compassion, impermanence, preciousness of human rebirth, so forth. In a informal session, sometimes you can do it as like to start as a motivation, like you meditate on that topic, elicit the desired frame of mind and emotion, and use that as the kind of intention setting for your practice, like to start to practice from that point of view. So we may, for example, contemplate on the precious human rebirth, precious human life, to start our practice for a while and move on to the next topic. And then sometimes you can do them at the end. You can use like a lam-rim prayer, use that as a kind of meditation guidepost, and maybe you just stop on the topic you want to contemplate, and then just read through the rest. So you may like read the first stanza and the second stanza and the third stanzas on the human life, and you read that and then sit and contemplate for a few minutes, knowing what topics to kind of contemplate and what's the desired outcome. Because sometimes you can meditate on death and just get really anxious and stressed out or whatever. It's more like you're trying to feel the gratitude, appreciation, and potential from the human life, or permanence is another way of just kind of cutting distraction, connecting what's real and what's important to us, and so we don't waste our time or get kind of like so then you contemplate for that for a while, and then move back into finish the rest of the prayers like a glance. So like you kind of glance on this topic, that topic, go into detail on one topic, and then just glance, recite the rest of the prayer. So you get like an imprint of the whole path. You're kind of reflecting on the whole path, getting a kind of broader view every day. That's something you're interested in doing, as a specific practice. But you can just kind of touch in on one, so you get a little bit more deeper relationship with that reality. Yeah.
Are you using to do that? Is that the foundation of the good?
Well, yeah.
That 2-page, then you just stop and you read and you stop, then you contemplate, meditate, and then you come back and read the rest. Is that right?
Yeah. So this one. So this, like, for example, for this topic, the human life, read the first one, that's on the teacher. And then second one, when I discover that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once, extremely difficult to find again. Please bless me unceasingly generate the mind, take its essence day and night. And then you could pause and do kind of meditation there. It's kind of one traditional way of doing it. And then,
And so,
is there another prayer that you suggest? Because I have this one and I've been doing something like that. Is there another prayer?
There is another. There's a bunch as my favorite of this is within a practice. I was trying to find a copy for tonight. Actually, it's a little bit longer and more detailed. It's very poetic. It's in the Guru Puja. It's at the end of the Guru Puja. I'm sure they'll have it at the Santa Fe Center. It's by the Panchen Lama. And yeah, he was second Panchen Lama. I can't remember how many centuries ago, but just beautiful poet, and it goes into more detail of all the. It goes into the six perfections, and goes into Tonglen and exchanging all the kind of more detail in the bodhicitta practice. This one's like kind of just more pith, kind of short, just as more like a reminder kind of use. And then there's the Three Principal Paths by Lamas Kappa, like short, poetic. So, yeah, maybe let's do a short Buddha meditation on the Buddha. I think that sounds good. Yeah, just come into a comfortable seat and just let our thoughts drop. Just tune into the breath. If you like, you can make the exhales a little bit longer. Allow the exhale to be relaxation breath settling into the body. And then coming back to the precious human life contemplation. Quite a lot of potential of our nature. Fortunate capacity. We're relatively healthy, relatively conducive, peaceful environments, not too extreme. Made the connection with the Dharma. Amazing that we have the kind of inclination or inspiration. There's the teachings of emptiness, Buddha nature, compassion, kindness. Even if we haven't reached our goal, just appreciate these kind of inner sensitivities that we have. Appreciate the inspiration that we have. Appreciate the kindness of the lineage and all those who have come, who are continuing the Dharma and sharing it and helping us continue to come closer to it and embody it. And then in the space of awareness, in the space in front of you at the level of the forehead, appears an 8-petaled white lotus. And on the lotus appears a moon disk lying flat on the nature of light. And the lotus representing the renunciation or the wish to be free. And the moon disk, the heart of bodhicitta. And on the lotus and moon disk rises the Buddha Shakyamuni, who's in the nature of radiant golden light. And the Buddha is in robes of a monk. In his left hand, at his lap, he holds a begging bowl full of nectar. His right hand rests over his knee in the gesture of touching the earth, expressing his confidence in his awakening. The Buddha smiles with narrow, compassionate eyes, like a loving parent for their only child. And he sits within a radiant, golden aura of light. The details are difficult. It's the most important, just to feel the presence of Buddha, how you understand the sense of loving and compassionate, unconditional wisdom and presence. You make requests to the Buddha to help clear any blockages we have, anything that's challenging for us. Let's keep us to continue to help make this life very beneficial and also be requesting to help enrich any qualities that we need on our path. And from the Buddha's heart, radiant golden light and nectar begins to pour out. And this nectar of love and wisdom enters to the crown of our head. And descends down, begins to permeate our body, filling every cell. It's radiant golden light and nectar. Loving energy of the Buddha helping clear away what needs to be cleared or healed, enriching any qualities we need. We begin to hear the sound of the mantra emanating from the Buddha's heart. If you like, we can chant the mantra together. It's on the screen if you need. And as we mantra, the nectar and light continues to flow through us. You can rest in quiet awareness, and then you felt quality that remains from the mantra. We become aware again of the Buddha in the space before us. And the Buddha comes to rest above the crown of our head, facing the same direction as us. When the Buddha melts into light, it descends down into our crown. This light again permeates our body, filling every atom. Blessing our body's future mind. Let's rest for a moment, feeling a sense of oneness with the Buddha, and nature, our mind and the Buddha's mind is the same in emptiness. You feel this oneness like a drop of water into the ocean. Finish with dedication. If you like, we can cite together Shantideva's dedication prayer. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer or commit evil or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored and find repose. May the naked find clothing and the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth. Those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome bears bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. All right. Thanks so much. The Americans and the Europeans. Thanks, Donnie, for joining.